Okay, so I want to be more than just a reaction channel. And so this is an original content video of mine. And I thought that I would start with something about me that explains something that I've been trying to explain to people occasionally in comments or in descriptions or in live streams, because I've often had to explain myself about this issue. And but I thought I'd put it in a video, and then it'd be in a form that's a lot easier to find and to digest. And so I have an issue which is brain damage. And I got my injury a long time ago. And a lot of the way that I live with it has improved enormously since the early years of when I had it. Now, before we go into the issue of what the brain damage is and how it affects me, I want to put down a few ground rules for the discussion first. Now, first of all, Penny Bloomfield, the channel owner here, is a fictional character. She is a botanic alchemist with alchemy powers and so on. But I have been trying to make her 95% the same as me, the person behind the channel. And so when I talk to you and I tell you personal stories, I am always in character as Penny Bloomfield, and those stories are 100% true for the Penny Bloomfield character. However, they are 95% true, on average at least, for me, the person behind the Penny Bloomfield character. And but always, names, places, dates will 100% be changed. I have had bad experiences on the internet in years past, and I don't want to trust everyone with complete information about me ever again. But I do want to connect with people in a way that is meaningful. And this way, with the 95% thing, I feel like I can talk to people about real issues that are just slightly fictionalized, and that way I can share my feelings with you without risk to my privacy. So anyways, that's the ground rules. But I wanted to tell you that in dealing with medical issues, the rules are going to be a little bit stricter than the 95% that normally is. So any medical issues that I myself have, Penny Bloomfield will also have, and vice versa. I am not going to assign any medical issues to Penny Bloomfield that I do not have. So everything that I say, oh, I have this condition, that will be true of Penny Bloomfield and of myself. And as far as how severe the condition is, I will not ever have the condition be more severe for Penny Bloomfield than it is for myself. It might be downplayed a little bit, but it will never be exaggerated. Another thing is I won't necessarily disclose all of my medical problems. It's possible that some of them I might have as concealed and private personal matters and never reveal them. I haven't decided which ones I'll reveal yet, but I am revealing the brain damage for now. So Penny Bloomfield has brain damage, and I have brain damage. And of course, in the story I'm about to tell you, if any names or dates or places pop up, those will be changed. But everything else will be 100% me, 100% between Penny Bloomfield and myself will be the same. So that is the ground rules before we start this discussion about my brain damage. So anyways, the time that I received my brain damage, it was, age 10, 11, 12, 13, somewhere around there. I'm not going to get too specific. And I am in my early 50s, so this was something that happened to me in the 1980s. And because of my brain damage, I often have had problems explaining to people what it is that's wrong with me and what is happening. But I've had a lot of practice. In the early years, I had great difficulty explaining it to people, and there were a lot of people that I just concealed it from altogether, that never even knew that I had brain damage. They did not know why I was behaving the way that I was. And there are some people today that I conceal it from. There's some people that know, some people that I conceal it from in my real life. So I sort of make that decision on an individual basis. But anyways, when I did receive my brain damage somewhere around 40 years ago, it changed everything. I was smart. I was really smart before I received my brain damage. And after I received it, I did not become dumb. I was still smart, but my smartness functioned differently, and I didn't understand how it functioned. And a lot of what I dealt with was trying to understand the new way that my smartness functioned so that I could navigate life correctly and understand the world. And there are so many symptoms of my brain damage that I think I'm actually probably going to do a series, and I'm going to tell you about basically one or two symptoms at a time. And this video itself is going to be about roads. So imagine me. I've newly received my brain damage. I'm at the side of the road, and I don't know, maybe 12 or 13 years old. And I'm understanding. I know what it is to cross the road. I know how to cross the road. This is something that I have done so many times, and I haven't needed someone to hold my hand to cross the road with me since I was I don't know, maybe 5. So I'm standing there, and, I can see the road. I know how to cross it. I understand the situation logically, and I try to cross the road. And for reasons that I cannot understand, I am not able to cross the road. Now, this doesn't always happen when I try to cross the road. Sometimes I get across and it's fine. Sometimes it takes me around half an hour to cross a road. And I don't understand why. I look at it, I understand, I logically understand it. I think my brain is working the same way it used to work, but I can't understand how to cross the road or why it sometimes takes me half an hour to cross a single road. And you might think to yourself, well, how can Penny not understand something this simple? And what would happen is sometimes I would start to cross the road and I would become convinced that a car was about to hit me. And I would get scared and I would turn back. And then I would try again. And then I would become convinced a car was about to hit me and I would get scared and I would come back. And so sometimes that kind of stuff would happen over and over again. And in some of these situations, there were people who would watch me do this. And they would tell me, Penny, you were nowhere near that car. That car was quite a long ways away from you. Why did you suddenly get scared and turn back? And I was like, well, it was really close to me. It was about to hit me. And they would be like, no, 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 no. That car was a ways away from you. Are you insane or something? And I would think to myself, am I insane? What's going on? I thought I understood what was happening, but I did not understand it. And there were other times when I was convinced that there was a car that was quite a distance from me and was in no danger whatsoever of hitting me. And then suddenly the driver would be honking at me and hanging out the window and shaking their fist and swearing at me. And I would get told that I had nearly been hit. And I didn't think I had nearly been hit, but I would get told that that was what had happened. And people that would watch me would say that it looked like I'd tried to deliberately just run right out there. And but that wasn't what I had tried to do, at least not in my own mind. And because of these incidents that I couldn't understand, I became more and more timid about road crossing. And oftentimes, it just extended and extended the amount of time that it would take to walk across the road. And if I had people with me, sometimes I would submit to the great embarrassment of asking someone to lead me across the road by the hand. And you might ask yourself, well, why didn't Penny just use a crosswalk? Well, there were a number of reasons. One reason was that this was in the 1980s, and when I first had my brain damage, I was in a small town most of the time. And there were a lot fewer crosswalks in the 1980s, and especially a lot fewer in small towns. And the ones that they did have, they were just like painted on the road. They didn't have those little buttons that you could push and the lights that could flash. I mean, the larger towns and the cities did have those, but not the small towns. So if I had to use a crosswalk, I often had to walk quite a long distance to use it, and there were also a lot of roads that just didn't have crosswalks at all on them. And but sometimes I would walk a long distance to use a crosswalk, and sometimes when I was in the crosswalk, I would still almost get hit, or I would get really confused about what was going on. So they didn't necessarily help, but they did help some, but they were often a long ways away or non-existent. So I figured out that I needed a better strategy than trying to muddle through it myself with my own logic, which didn't seem to work correctly, or always having a person with me that I could ask them to lead me by the hand across the road, which was super embarrassing and not always possible. So what I figured out was that if there was no car in sight at the time that I was trying to cross the road, then I would be able to cross the road with no danger. And this leap in logic, setting this particular rule for myself, there's no car in sight, none, and then I can cross the road, that changed everything. I was able to cross the road. And so I was crossing roads, I was feeling really good. I would just wait, and sometimes it'd take a while, but you know, in a small town, it usually didn't take too long until there wasn't a single car in sight. And so I was able to keep crossing roads, and I was really pleased with myself. I'm like, oh, this problem is basically solved. But there were still a few problems, such as sometimes there were cars that I was convinced were parked unoccupied cars on the side of the road that were actually moving cars on the road. So sometimes that would happen, and then I'd sort of get thrown into the old paradigm of trying to cross the road and getting scared or almost getting hit or things like that happening. And then also sometimes there would be cars that were moving that I was convinced were parked cars. So various things like that would sometimes happen, but mostly the problem was solved just by creating these special rules for myself that I can't cross the road unless there's no car in sight. And but that ended up being a problem because there was a period in my life when I ended up going and moving and living in different places, first one place, then another place, living with cousins, living with grandparents sometimes, and going to college in various places. And there were quite a number of those places where if you decided to wait until there was no car in sight, you were going to be waiting there all day. So it just wasn't possible. Now, one of the things about a lot of these places is that they did have more crosswalks, and then especially they had more of the crosswalks where you could press the button and wait for the sound. And those were really helpful. So I really liked those, but still they weren't on every road, and sometimes you'd have to walk for a while to get to them. So it was still inconvenient. And as far as crossing the road, do I still have that rule? No, I don't still have that rule, because slowly over the decades, I got better at crossing the road. My judgment improved. The brain damage, either some of it healed or I figured out better ways to use the way that my brain now functioned. And I became much better at crossing the road. It has been a long time since I've been trapped on the side of a road for, any longer than 10 minutes. And I do not nearly get hit. That probably hasn't happened in more than 10 years. So even if I do try to use the crosswalks still, but even if I don't have a crosswalk, I can usually get across the road. I'm a little bit slower than other people. I'm a little bit paranoid. I'm overly cautious. I look around a lot, and I do look a little bit weird sometimes. But I probably only take maybe an extra minute more than a normal person would take to cross a road. So I can cross a road, but I have the memories of how complicated it used to be to do something like cross a road. And it still affects me. It's still there. I know that crossing a road, something that is that logically easy to understand, can be extremely difficult for me. And I know how wrong I can be. Even when I think I understand a problem really well, I can be really wrong. And as far as roads, you might think to yourself, if Penny has such problems with crossing a road that, have slowly improved over the decades and so, then obviously Penny cannot navigate and she can't drive. Well, that is not true. I could drive, even early on, I could drive. And my driving looked a little bit weird. That's true. But I was able to pass driving tests, when I was, 15, 16. I could do the driving course. I could pass the driving test. And ever since then, whenever I've had a driving test, I was able to pass it. And so that part does function, but it's not a normal function. I drive weirdly in ways that do not cause accidents, at least not so far. And I know this because I've had this problem for decades, and the only accident I've ever had is one time when I was in a parking lot and I backed up into another car, just barely tapped it. And so no damage, just the tiniest paint scratch. And so that is the only car accident that I've ever had. And so I am obviously safe to drive. I am an overly cautious driver, but there are some incredibly weird things that happen when I drive, especially early on. They don't happen as much anymore, but they still do happen somewhat. Okay, and one of those is driving in circles. So the driving in circles thing is really bizarre, and I've often tried to understand it, but I can't understand it. I can explain to you what happens, but I can't understand why it happens. It's just all I can say is brain damage, that's why. So if I am the driver in a car and I'm by myself, I'm fine. I do not drive in circles, or at least I almost never drive in circles. But if I'm the driver and I have a passenger in the car, it is extremely difficult if the passenger starts talking to me. If I'm driving and the passenger starts talking to me, one of the things that happens, and this used to happen like every single time, decades ago, and now it only sometimes happens. The thing that happens is driving in circles. So there might be one block that I drive in circles around, or there might be 2 blocks, or it might be a whole bunch of blocks that I just keep circling over and over again. And the person who's a passenger, they say one thing to me, and then I start circling. And so I have had situations where I've been giving a ride to a friend, and I've told them, don't talk to me at all. And then they happen to say like one thing, like maybe one sentence, and then I started driving in circles. And they're like what are you doing? This isn't the direction. And I'll try to explain to them that I'm trying to go back to where we should go, that I know the route. I logically know the route I'm supposed to take to the place that I'm going to drop them off. I know it. And I am trying to do it. But in my brain, there's certain things where I take an action first, and then I make a decision second. It's hard to explain, but that's what it feels like to me. It's not a normal process. It's like backwards, and I have already started circling, and then it's really hard to get off of that. And one of the problems with circling is as soon as I start circling, the person will start scolding me about circling, or start informing me that I'm circling, which itself triggers more circling. And so it can get extremely difficult. And if it's a friend who doesn't know about the brain damage, which I've sometimes had happen, I'm pretty certain that they've been convinced that I'm severely trolling them and messing with them by saying, oh, I'm going to drop you off at work, and then I just sit there and circle forever. And so I've had very difficult situations sometimes, and although it's been years since it happened, there have been times when I have pulled off to the side of the road because I was just circling so much and I couldn't stop it, and turned off the car, been in a good parking spot and everything, and then just started screaming and hitting the steering wheel with my fists for like a few minutes straight, just to try to break myself out of the circling. And of course, if I end up doing that in front of a friend, it really disturbs them. even if I sit there and explain it to them, I'm trying to break out of the circling. This is what I think will work. So, and it's really embarrassing to do that. It's really embarrassing to do that. And I haven't done it for years, but there have been times when I've done it, and I've been so embarrassed. I've been so embarrassed. So, but these experiences, there's also another thing that happens, and this is also something that almost never happens in recent years. It's during the last 10 years, it doesn't happen very often at all. But before that, it used to happen a lot. So this was stoplights. So stoplights are something that I've often tried to avoid. If there's a way to go around them, I try to go around them. And if I'm coming up on a stoplight, I'm very nervous about people tailgating me. I will either slow down extremely much to try to force them to go around me, or I'll just try to, honk a bunch and stuff like that. I really do not like tailgaters when I'm approaching a stoplight. And the reason is because there were many years in which I did not have a choice about what I did at a stoplight. Now, this might sound weird, but let me explain. The stoplight, I would either run all the stoplights, so whether it was green or whether it was red, I would just drive right through without stopping. Or I would stop at all of the stoplights, and then if it was red, I would just stop briefly, and then I would keep going. If it was green, I would just stop briefly and keep going, and if it was red, I would stay there till it turned green. Sorry, I said it the wrong way. But anyways, and I tried to understand this a lot about why it was like this, but I was never able, even though I could understand the situation logically, I could look ahead and say, okay, that there is a green light, I need to keep going. I could do that logically, and my mind appeared to work. But when I got to the green light, I would stop. And if I did not stop at the green light, if I was like, okay, it's okay to keep going, then what would happen instead is that I would run all the red lights. So I had sort of this switch in me, which was either stop at all the green lights or run all the red lights. And I had to put it onto stop at every light, regardless of what color it is. And then if it's a green light, you can just stop very briefly and then go. And that's why I was so nervous about tailgaters, because tailgaters can't stop necessarily if you suddenly stop at a green light. And I was always convinced that at some point I was going to have someone plow into my car from the rear when I stopped at a green light. Now, it never happened, possibly because I was super, super cautious and liked to drive extra slow to discourage tailgaters and all that kind of stuff. So because of that, I had to choose. Which way I was going to act at lights. And it was difficult for me to understand because, like I said, I could logically evaluate it. I could look at it and I could say, I know that light is green, it's go. Or I could say, I know that light is red, it's time to stop. I could logically understand the situation that I was going into, but once I got into that situation, I wasn't able to take actions according to the logic that I already understood. I had to make a rule for myself and then follow that rule all the time. And I eventually was able to break out of that system. And it'll still occasionally happen. Sometimes I get caught in that cycle again, but not very often. Not very often. So it hardly ever happens anymore, and I'm so thankful that it never caused an accident. But um, but that's, the driving has been weird, and people that have ridden in the car with me have seen a lot of weird stuff that's been very alarming to them. And there are some friendships that have ended, that I think that stuff might have been a factor in it, especially like minor friends that I didn't know well enough to tell them about the brain damage, and then they would think that I was just messing with them for my own amusement, or because I was mean, or because I was crazy or something like that. And so but this kind of stuff is one of the reasons why I try to like give a lot of latitude to other people's decisions, because I've experienced a lot of situations where I felt like I fully understood exactly what was going on, and yet I did not understand, or at least I wasn't able to navigate the situation properly. And I've had a lot of this happen, and this is just, this particular video is just about me and roads. But there's a lot of different symptoms of my brain damage that have come out, and sometimes I feel like when I've been having conversations with people, when I've been trying to understand what situations are happening, that sometimes I am, verbally driving them in circles. That sometimes I take people and I'm talking about issues. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and I feel like, conversationally speaking, I am driving them in circles, and they think probably that I'm sitting there messing with them or being mean on purpose, and I'm not. And that's one of the reasons why I've developed this outlook on life, where I try to listen to people, and when I'm butting heads with people, I tend to think, Penny, you need to listen to people. You need to sort of like back off and shut up and hear what they have to say and try to understand it some more. And because I have been like terribly rude to people, or at least appeared to be terribly rude, and I don't want to do that to people. I don't want to drive them in circles. I want to be nice to people. I want to understand people. So anyways, I think I'll leave off for now this video, and I'll probably have at least one more video, possibly more than one, that I'll upload again about other brain damage symptoms, because there are a lot of them, and they're hard to explain, and they take a long time to explain. So this is me and roads, but it got a lot better over the decades. I either had some of it heal, or I just learned how to manage the injuries to my brain better and learn how it worked and how to work around it. So anyways, thank you for listening to this very personal story of mine. Thank you. And if I'm talking to you and you feel like I'm driving you in circles and I'm not understanding what you're saying, just feel free to say to me, hey Penny, you might be driving in circles. Feel free to say that to me, okay? Okay.